confidence is not a fluke. Confidence is a choice, and it begins with your mindset. In this podcast, you will get all sorts of mindset tools to help you reduce self criticism and overwhelm while increasing your empowerment and courage. I am passionate about helping women decrease their mental drama and increase their self awareness while leaving behind all the perfectionist tendencies. We do so by empowering ourselves one episode at a time. I am Olga, your host, former therapist, life coach, blissfully an IVF mother, and this is the Journey to Happy podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Journey to Happy podcast. I'm Olga, your host, and today I've got two amazing guests with me. And I say they're amazing because they truly are, not because I love them, but because they are doing amazing things in the world. And I thought you all needed to get to know who they are, what they're doing, and how they're doing it. So, welcome, Mel and Geneviève, to the podcast. I am honored that you decided to share some of you with my audience. I know it's challenging when your coach says, "Hey, do you want to come to my podcast?" I've been in those shoes and I've been like, who, me? Why? Why would I have to say? So I know it's uncomfortable and I want to honor both of those things. That is courageous, uncomfortable, and yet you're here to give some of you to the audience. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll let each of you introduce yourselves, but just for everybody to know, they have been working with me for about 6 months now inside becoming the CEO of your own life. They're part of the group I call my CEO ladies. And yes, welcome to the podcast. Mel, do you want to introduce yourself briefly to the audience?
Absolutely. My name is Melissa, and I am a regulatory affairs manager, a mother of one. I am married to my husband. Oh my goodness, it's been like 20 years now. And I am very lucky to be a part of this CEO group that Olga is hosting. And I think that I've certainly benefited from it and have something to share.
Yay! I love that you introduce yourself as a mom and as a wife, and then also as a professional. Sometimes when I have to introduce myself, I'm like, who am I again? I just give my name and I think of like, yeah, it's true. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. I like it. Jen, do you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. And it's so funny because I took notes because I figured Olga's going to ask me that question. And honestly, I wrote like I'm a 51-year-old wife, mother, professional, and volunteer. So like I use the same words that Melissa did. So obviously there's a reason that we're here together. Basically, I discovered late in life that I have ADD. So I embrace all sorts of different jobs and different parts of myself. And I'm happy to have all these things. And I've been in this journey with Olga to discover how to make all these things work and find better version of myself.
This is so cool. I love that you both introduce yourselves as the humans that you are first and foremost, because you're both high achievers and so driven by your passions that I would imagine that's a challenge to think of yourself outside of your passions. Like, who is it that I am again outside of my achievements? So I am so happy that this is how you thought I would want you to introduce yourselves. You did. I want to dive into just like the majority of people decide to do coaching when something is broken or like they've lost something or they feel like, oh man, I don't really know how to lose those extra 10 pounds, or I don't really know how to keep my marriage going. When they just encounter that they don't know how to, and then they decide to do this. Or most people will say, like, it's not so bad yet. Why would I reach out to somebody to help me with self growth? And I find self growth is so vague on its own. Like, for us to be like, yeah, I want to grow a little bit more. I'm just going to do this. And from the outside looking in, both of your lives were pretty amazing when you came to me. You know, like none of you had anything broken. None of you had a goal that has never been accomplished because you just didn't know how to. You're like through and through my favorite people to work with because your life is pretty good and yet you had like this thirst to do something else. So I want to dive into your brains. What was going on for you to say, you know what, even though my life is pretty good, I want to do some coaching? Like, what was your thinking? What brought you into group coaching from all things?
Well, I personally didn't even know what to expect. And that's something we spoke about in our first call, Olga. I had no expectations on where I wanted this journey to take me. There was nothing broken. I couldn't even figure out what I would focus on. I just knew that, of course, I've listened to podcasts and I'm reading all the books. And I knew that I wanted to be made more accountable to things, because there's a lot of things that I figured I knew I had to do, but I wasn't necessarily implementing. But through this, I've discovered there's a lot more that I didn't know about myself. So it's been a journey. And every week it seems like there's another aha moment.
So it's interesting because you didn't know, like, what am I even going to work on? But yet you signed up for a 1 year life coaching program. Like, I'm going to find something. Like, was there anything that you thought, like, this is deserving of this kind of time investment, money investment?
I was listening to your podcasts, and I felt you kept talking to me. I felt there's like so many podcasts I was listening to. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's me. Oh, yeah, that's me. And then you're like saying, oh, you should sign up. And I'm like, okay, Olga is asking me directly to sign up because she's talking about something that's relatable to me. So that's actually, there was not one specific thing, but there was so many topics that I was like, okay, I should explore those a bit more.
That's funny. Somebody messaged me on Instagram yesterday saying, so apparently all of your episodes are for me and about me. Like,
That's how I felt.
great. Mel, what about you?
Yeah, same thing. I think something just spoke to me about your messages and the type of people that you were helping. I feel like I just fit right into that category without even ever defining myself as that previously. And in my situation, I started with individual coaching with Olga. I wasn't ready to jump into a group of women and put it all out there. I felt pretty vulnerable. But so Olga and I worked together. Originally, it was for 6 months, and I think we extended it by a couple months. And I made so much progress in that time and felt so normalized in my thoughts that she was like, wow, you would really benefit from this. And by the time we were done our individual coaching, I was like so excited to be a part of a group of other women that were like minded, that wanted to support one another and help each other, not compete. And that is exactly what I've gotten. And I've just been thrilled with the whole experience, really. It's been amazing.
What will you have to say to somebody who wants to work with me and is hearing you say, okay, I want to do some one on one first so that I also feel ready for the group? And they will find out that I don't offer that service anymore. What will you have to say to that person?
You
To
just have to
that
jump.
Mel, to that Mel who was like,
Hmm.
fuck, am I
Yeah.
vulnerable enough to want to do this?
Yeah, you just have to jump in. I think you just have to understand that you're not perfect. No one's perfect. We all have things that we're working on, and that's why we come to these things, right? And we gain and build from one another. And I think I was just afraid to do that. And now it seems so silly because everyone is so vulnerable. We're all so vulnerable. And that, I think, just gives us strength, right? And makes us feel really normal. And all the things that we're going through are so incredibly normal. And that has just given me strength in knowing that. It's been a game changer for me, both the individual coaching and now the CEO. It feels like it's almost like a diving board, into this like sea of, wow, there's so much to work on, but in a good way, in a way that makes me feel good about myself. I don't beat myself up about it. It's all positive growth. It's not easy, but it's positive
Yeah.
growth.
I love the it's not easy, but it's positive because somehow we're always looking for easy. And then we're like,
Mhm.
okay, let's get it. giving the easiest way to like the stars. And we're like, well, you still have to like, you know, cross the universe. And that's pretty complicated. So good luck. But you are supported. And I think that that's such a great element to a group coaching program that is not just you, that you see. I think that part that you guys have said normalized, it's so authentic within a group because you see yourself in everybody's stories essentially. You're like, yeah, that could be me.
I
Go ahead.
didn't think I was going to love and embrace the group as much as I am. At first, I thought it would be a bit awkward to share to people I didn't really know. As you know, I'm the person that's sharing all the time. Like it's like everything's coming out in that group. And just so everyone knows, it's not like we're sitting in a room in a group. Like the group is like we have a chat function where we communicate all the time throughout the week. And basically, it's whatever you want to put into it, right? So you can put a ton of things in the chat, or you can check in once a week and see what's going on. But I have found it really, really valuable to get some coaching, to hear from other people as well. And we can all relate. That's what's been really incredible is that your own struggles, you think you're the only one going through this. A few people will chime in. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I've been there. Oh, I've got a similar story. Now, it's been a great part of the coaching program.
So, what has been your biggest takeaway that you think just that getting that has made my investment worth? I think in terms of investment with my own coach, every time I learn something, I'm like, that alone was 25K worth of investment. Okay. Like now I can walk away and say, I got my money back, but I am a businesswoman. So not everybody thinks that way. But I know for people listening, I know there's a certain fear of like, fuck, what if I fail? What if that thing does not work for me? And I know it's in all of our brains because we want to make sure that it's going to work for us. Like, and people are already comparing themselves to yourselves and saying, like, wow, obviously they're not as fucked up as I am. As somebody told me yesterday, like, I think I'm too fucked up to join Reset. I'm like, well, where is that thought taking you? You're never too fucked up. Just start. We're all fucked up. What would you guys say is your biggest takeaway to date that you think if you were to end working with me today, that would be like, yeah, made it. Mel, do you want to go?
Yeah, there's two. I can't even say one. So the first one was my realization of self-worth and my accomplishments. That's been huge for me. So I like to have degrees and I've collected, lots of different schooling and I've been successful. And I feel like those are all indications of who I am when I realize that those are just symptoms, of a greater thing, which is me. So I think that's been huge and realizing that all these accomplishments are really because of the traits that I have and who I am, not because I have a pile of degrees or have a good job. And I think the second thing is realizing that people come into your life not always necessarily for what you think is a good reason, but there's always a reason for people coming into your life and having some sort of effect on you. And I think that recognizing that you're a distinct individual and not associated with anybody else's view of you has been a big takeaway for me.
What has been the impact of those two lessons in your life? Like, how has that impacted you?
So, on the accomplishment side of thing, I feel like it's given me like a sense of relief. Like, you could take away all the degrees, you could take away all the medals, all that stuff, and it wouldn't matter because I have all the traits, I have all those qualities. And that's what got me those things. And so I could get all those things all back again if I wanted to because it's me. That's huge. The second thing I think is about people in the sense of things are not always necessarily good in how you see them, but they're good in how they play out. And there's a long game to all of this and recognizing that everyone comes into your life for a reason. That's been key.
Thank you, Mel. Jen, what about you? Biggest takeaway?
I had to think quick on this one because there's so many. One I've discovered how much of a perfectionist I am and how much it impacts others in my life, how it's impacted others in my life. And as much as I had been working on not having expectations myself, I was not seeing how the fact that I'm such a perfectionist actually is putting expectations onto others because I want them to do everything the way I want it to my level. And how it's changed things is now I make things about, I realize that things are just about what I want and how I see things versus they might have their way of doing things that is, they're perfect. So I have to work on being imperfect and embracing that. The other one is being our future self and being the future self I want to be. And that's the book that we're reading right now together. And recently I realized that it's a bit of fake it till you make it. Although I always hated that line because it like that fake word, I hate it. I despised it because it was like pretending. But I reframed it and realized that you have to get your body and brain accustomed to the person you want to be in the future. And I've implemented it recently in public speaking and just believing that that's the person I am. And I was absolutely not nervous, where in the past I would be, but I pictured my future self.
I could do a little dance because that is such an exciting, both of your experiences are so exciting for a coach to hear. Like, my God, we've done that in 6 months. What's next? This is very exciting. Now, Jen, what do you say that's the impact that both of these things? What is the impact of you recognizing your perfectionism was impacting others and the expectations you might have had with them and like maybe how much you were trying to fix and this realization of future self, like how important it is to build your future self in the present? What will be the impact of those two things in your life?
I'm seeing it already, even with my kids that are like young adults now, that I'm distancing myself more, that mama bear is no not as much there as it was, so that my picture of perfection is not. Even if I thought I was really the cool mom that let them do whatever they want and be whoever they wanted, even my facial expression would change, my tone would change.
Mhm.
So I've definitely seen that I've changed a lot. So giving them room to grow and be themselves. Still have to figure out and really, really define that future self because it's so powerful
It is.
to be into it and to believe it. So I'm still work in progress, but everything's a work in progress. And but anybody that thinks they're too messed up, I think it's a joke. Anybody that thinks they're not messed up, well, yeah, I think they're in denial. I think we all have
I
things to
I
work on.
recently sent an email, I think you to you guys as well. Like my thoughts in life coaching. My thoughts in life coaching, it's a lifetime commitment for me anyways. I can imagine maybe being my parents' age and thinking like, do I want to have a life coach? Maybe like I'm just gonna coast now. Maybe I'm gonna stop just looking in. I'm just gonna coast and be like, whatever happens, happens. But I feel so personally, I feel so passionate about what happens to me when I'm being coached. And it's not like I'm not an achiever or self motivated human or like that I'm done growing. None of those things. Like I feel that I've got all of this stamina in me that I want to keep going in life. But I find it so valuable to not have this perception of myself where I know it all. I don't need any help. There is no more growth to go from here on. And having somebody pointing at like my own blind spots and just like that accountability to be like, shit, I'm in with my coach in the group today. What have I done? Where am I at with the thing I said I was going to do? And I think eventually it becomes less about being accountable and more about like just falling in love with what happens to ourselves in the process of being coach in general. So both of you are in becoming the CEO of your own life. So from day one, I've promoted you to the CEO. And both of you, like I know Jen, you're self-employed, and so you've been the CEO of your companies for a while. And Mel, you're really high up in your company. And so you've been a boss for a while. What has been sort of like the difference now utilizing and viewing yourself as the CEO of your own life? What does that mean to you, even to have stepped into that plate? And how is that different from where you were maybe 6 months ago?
Sure, I can start. I think the biggest thing from a work perspective, how I've been able to incorporate the learnings is this one statement that I keep, a bit of a mantra, as you would say, that I can work with anyone. And so, working with this group of ladies, recognizing the normalcy of everything that I'm going through and being able to show up better as myself, I think also recognizing that I am my own biggest enemy. I step in front of myself and create obstacles that don't need to be there, all based on mindset. And so, reality is your perception, and I am absolutely working on that. But to be able to work with anyone in a business environment and what I do is really important. And I think I'm doing that better.
Mm. And personally, like work wise, has there been a difference between the Mel 6 months ago and the Mel who's now seeing herself as the CEO of her own life? Has there been a extra layer of responsibility you're taking, perhaps, or anything different that you feel that, yeah, that's change?
Yeah, I think there's accountability, really. And first of all, awareness, right? We have to be aware of what we're doing and what's going on. And so being a part of a coaching program is the first step, right? In getting that awareness. And then once you have that, it's about acting on it. And I feel like I have a bit of a different lens that I look through with this program. Look at myself, look at how I'm showing up. Am I creating my own obstacles? What is my mindset? What are the thoughts that I'm putting out there before I've even started this? And so it's almost like there's a bit of a calibration, a double check, an inspection, so to say, before you go into things, feeling more mindful of how I show up and who I am in each situation because it impacts everything I do.
It's so true and powerful. Jen, what about you? What does it look like to be a CEO of your life, not just your company?
Business wise, I've worked a lot on my imposter syndrome. Way more than I've been working on it for a while, but now it's like it's just gone way faster, like 100 miles an hour. I've had to work on some limiting beliefs and believing that, and actually just writing things down. And I love, Olga, how you do not ever give us the answers. You ask us, like, I just love it how you'll throw just one question at me and I'll go, oh my God, that's the one question I needed. Like, it's clear now. But I needed to work on those limiting beliefs to know that I belong here and I should be doing this. I find that you have given us basically a pair of freaking good glasses. And these new glasses help me see things differently. So work-wise, I've worked on a lot on my imposter syndrome. Although it's something that I've worked on for years, I've been thrown into situations where I didn't know what I was doing, but I always managed to figure it out. So I had to work on my limiting beliefs and accept that I belong there. And it gave me so much power. I have so much more confidence since I've worked on that imposter syndrome. relationship wise, it's shown itself in terms of my relationship with my husband. Some simple things like being in the car with him when he's driving fast or getting too close to the car in front of us. I used to like freak out. And now I'm not. I'm actually something I wanted to accomplish in this CEO course is being more calm when I'm in a car with my husband. But it's just those working on some limiting beliefs, working on doing some thought work has put me in charge, made me the CEO.
Oh, I love it. Ladies, who do you think has noticed this work that you guys have done internally? Anybody around you has made any comments? Anybody can tell that you are different. What's up? I see nods.
Absolutely. My
Nice.
husband has made multiple comments and just some really heartfelt, really nice things about it's amazing that you're continuing, right? That you want to do better, that you want to grow, you want to be the best that you can be. It's not at anyone else's expense, right? And I think that's the greatest thing about this program is that we all get to help each other. We all get to support each other. And it's like when the tide rises, all boats float. And that's what this is about, right? It's about being a part of that tide. And I want to be one of the boats that floats with everybody else. And yeah, I'm really proud to be a part of this. I talk about it like it's something that I wish everyone could do. And at the same time, feeling like it's unique and it's individual to everyone. So I would highly encourage you. If you have the opportunity to do this, there's no reason why I would say to not do it, right? It's
Yeah, who
every
would this
reason to
not be
do it.
for?
Exactly. Exactly.
It was very intentionally created to help everyone who can be a part of it. I love that you said it's personalized. What makes it personal to you? Like what? Because in a group setting, it's hard to imagine that this could be personal. So, what makes you feel connected to me specifically, or the coaching that I
Yeah.
provide you, or maybe that you have with peers as well? What makes it feel personal to you?
It's funny. The first time when we talked about the WhatsApp and, connecting, I was sort of like, no, I don't really know that that's going to be for me. And I think it's the lifeline of this, to be honest with you. We connect every couple of weeks. We have daily communication on WhatsApp and we have games that we play and we have fun together. It's not just about bringing your problems, it's about sharing your wins and talking about all the cool stuff that's going on and how you've been able to implement some of the learnings. It's just a constant feeling of support. At no time do I feel like I'm on an island. I'm always just one message away from support. And that might not be Olga. That might be just some of my fellow CEOs, which is just as good.
I love that. So you've made friendships.
I have absolutely made friendships and I have so much respect for these women. And like, I want to be there to support them and I want to get to know them more and I want to see what their journey is all about because you can see yourself in every single one of them. You know, a piece of you and a bit of you, one of your struggles, one of your wins. And I think it's fantastic to be a part of something like that.
I love it. Jen, what about you?
It's funny to jump off to what Melissa just said. We are absolutely celebrating everybody's successes. And as much as we share some of our struggles, we share when we overcome them and we all celebrate together. And it's not just, we're not cheerleaders, and that's not what the aim is, but it's empowering and it's great to see that everyone is progressing in completely different ways, but we're all there for each other and there's no judgment. People can be so vulnerable in our groups and in our chats and talk about some stuff that's so personal. I never could imagine that people would talk about things that were so personal, yet it feels so natural to speak about those things in our group setting. It took about a couple weeks before every months, but it really feels like a safe space. And that no one is judging. Even if we didn't know each other, we bonded super quickly.
And that has been my experience every time I've run these groups. Like you would think it's like serendipity to this particular group. Nope. Nope. Every
It
single
is.
time, which is why I'm so passionate about the groups. Because I realized you don't get this anywhere else. Period.
Aren't we the best group?
You're the best group ever. Yes. Jen, who do you think has noticed any changes, if at all, with you?
My husband, I could tell, has noticed it because he's even more pleasant with me. Not that he was unpleasant before. My mom, I discuss a lot of this with, and my mom has read so many psychology books. It's hilarious. And then I'm pushing her further than her zillion psychology books. So it's actually quite funny that I find in such a short time, I've advanced more than she has in her 100 books that she's read.
She needs to join us. She needs to be a CEO. Jen, bring her. Jen
Yeah.
said something. You said something to me the other day that I had already shared with the audience in one of my episodes, but I found it like I think speaks to is the difference between listening to podcasts or reading books versus having that plus having a coach in your corner, and how you compare it to Martha Stewart's cooking show, how you would watch her make a cake and you finish the show thinking and feeling like, I just baked a cake, but you didn't, in fact, do any of the work. And so sometimes reading the books gives us so much information. And some of us become like lifetime learners where we sign up for every course, we buy every book, we listen to every podcast, but we're not implementers. And I think that's the main difference between reading the theory and then actually applying it. And I think that, Jen, to your point, Jen, your mom has been reading a lot, storing information, but it's in the implementation that we become one with the knowledge. And I think that's what this group does successfully, is just help you guys integrate that. Mel and Jen, the two biggest obstacles people have to join any kind of self-help, anything, whether that's therapy or nutrition or life coaching, is time and money. What do you ladies will have to say to somebody who's questioning, like, I don't have the money, do I have the time to doing this work? What is the value that they're not seeing?
Money is always a thing for me. Investing money, especially when it's on a consistent basis like this. But you have to look at it as an investment, like you were saving for something, because this is about you, right? And this is going to last a lot longer than any pair of jeans or a pair of shoes, if you know me. But it's an investment, and you save for the things that you want in life, right? And you carve out the money for it. It's the same thing with time. Time is very precious in my life. I'm very busy. I have a demanding job, but I also recognize that there's a lot of time in our life where we're spent kind of doing nothing, right? Let's be honest. As busy as I am, there's still time where I'm doing nothing. And it's just like the savings. You carve out the time, you put it into your calendar, and you make the time. It's just like, self love and self care. This is a part of it. I feel so much better about myself doing this than I do going for a massage or going shopping. Let's be honest with you. Those things are very short term, and I can spend all kinds of money on that. These are the things that last. Doing the coaching, having this feedback. This is about action, right? That's been the difference for me. It's about action and changing my mindset. And there's nothing that is more valuable than that. Time, money, anything.
And like I'm thinking of some of the life experiences you personally have had with your health as you were in this program, and how you had this sort of like mindset tools plus the support to fall back onto, how we don't always think, hey, what if I become sick later on? Like, how will that be
Yeah.
helpful? But having those things, and you're like, oh shit, thank God I had all of this. I've heard you, Geneviève, say the same thing, you know?
It's funny that you say that because I don't even think about it because I dealt with it so well. And the tools that I had from this program and being able to tell myself, the thing that I've learned here is that you have to give your brain something that it can accept, right? That it can really accept and turn off. And I've been able to figure out what those things are with the coaching and with the support. And anytime I've had a major, oh shit moment, like this is not fucking good, I've reached out. I've reached out to Olga or I've reached out to the group, and it has changed the outcome. It has changed the crazy thought process, the panic attack, not real panic attack, but feeling like it. And I've been able to give my brain the words and the comfort that it needs. And yeah, I've had some pretty scary stuff happen throughout this process, but it hasn't taken me down. And I even when you brought it up, it's like, oh yeah, that's right. Do you know what I
Major
mean? That's
life.
right. Yeah, I dealt with that. You know what? And I'm not stressing about it every single day. And I don't think about it because I can handle it. And that is what I told my brain. And these are the things that I've worked with Olga. I can handle it. Right? There are mantras, or there's things that you need to be able to embrace. And I really accepted that. And so now it's just figuring it out, right? Figuring out what is the thing that I need to tell my brain that it's going to accept that's going to allow me to move to this next step, right? And to be able to move through this issue, this event, this whatever is going on in your life and not be crazy in the mind, right?
So, what is the thought you think you use? Because you said money and time are very precious to you, and here you are giving money and time for this program that is ultimately helped you hugely, as you were saying. But you didn't know that at the beginning.
Nope.
So, what if you want to lend one of your thoughts to the audience? What are some of the thoughts that allow you to ease the mind about this investment of time and money? Like, what would be a thought that you give to yourself that you're like, this is
When I see the bill, it's one of those thoughts sometimes you see a bill of something and you go, oh God, oh shit. When I see the bill from Olga, it's like, oh yeah, that's right. I'm doing work. It's a reminder of the time and the energy that I'm putting in. It's not something that I go, oh God. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. Remind me to, this is what I've invested in. This is what I've come to do. In terms of time, there's just no better investment of your time than in yourself. There's no better investment. Like we give so much to our husbands, we are our spouses. We give so much to our children. We rarely give back to ourselves. And we think, oh, we'll go for a pedicure. Oh, we'll go have a massage. Those things are very short-lived. This is like long term. This like helps you in your day to day and gets you to where you want to be, I think, quicker. Yeah. And so, you know what? You can spend time doing the little things, or you can actually do some of the hard work and really see the benefit.
love it. Spoken from a CEO, ladies.
That's right.
Jen, what about you?
Well, time, I always think if you need something done, you ask the busiest person you know, and they'll get it done. So time is not an issue for me, and I'm super busy. If you have time for any drama in your life, then you're just going to save the drama by doing something like this because it's going to get rid of the drama really quickly. You won't be spending hours stressing out over something or days. You're just going to get it solved so quickly. So time's not an issue at all, especially if you were watching Netflix and watching shows like Squid Games and stuff. Like, come on, like, time's not an issue. Money was my challenge because I'm super thrifty. And it's Nancy that's in our group that had to shake me a bit and said, come on, like, you can afford this much money. I can't afford that much money, and I'm doing it. I was like, okay, well, yeah, thanks for putting it like black and white like this. So I can't use the I can't afford it excuse. So I had to push myself a bit more and, and then realize it's not spending money, it's investing money. That I'm able to do. I'm not good at spending money, I'm good at investing money. So that's how I was able to push through and realize that this investment in me was worth it because I'm worth it.
I love that. And I have to say, I get challenged myself whenever I have to pay my coach. She only takes one payment. You don't break it down into months. She wants one chunk, which is 30% more for me because I earn Canadian dollars. She is American. And it's like fucking terrifying to think
Mhm.
like, oh my God, do I want it so badly or not? And that's why I've asked you guys to think of the value, the real value you're getting by being a part of this program or being coached in general, because those things are priceless. What is the cost? What is the price, the value of, like Jen said, getting out of drama faster to the point that you're like, I don't have time for drama anymore. And the self created drama, which is the worst kind of drama, by the way. If you're listening to this and thinking, oh no, drama is about how dramatic, difficult people in my life. No, we're not talking about that drama. We're talking about your own thoughts that make you feel not enough, that make you feel that you cannot do things. Jen, you were saying like the imposter syndrome. I don't belong here. What am I doing here? Or why do I have so much? Or why do I have so little? That kind of drama. What is the value of that? To me, it's priceless to live a life where I am in charge of my mind, when I'm not longer a victim of my thoughts, but I generate them and I create them. And essentially, my best wish for every single one of my CEO ladies is that you guys train your brain to give you the results that you want to have. And I can't put a price on that personally. That's me speaking. Obviously, I created this program. I love this program. Listening to you guys talk motivates me to do this again and again and again. I obviously love to see the results. But that's sort of like the thoughts that I have when I'm investing myself in my coach, is thinking like, what is the value? What is the value that I'm getting out of this? Like, I had to pay to make my son hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars. And when I look at him walking around and smiling and like just being cute, I never think to myself, fuck, you costed me too much. What would be the price of this child? Priceless, right? Like, I would have paid that and more. I obviously wish I didn't have to, but that is like, there is something other that cost that adds value to our lives. And that's how I think CEOs need to think about investing in self. It's what's the added value to my life of being here. Mel, I saw you taking notes. Do you have anything that you want to share?
Yeah, I think, you know, it speeds up the process of whatever mental drama you're going through, right? And for me, there were some really long-standing issues, like really long-standing issues that I just kept circling and circling and circling. And I've resolved those, which is like just, it's fucking mind blowing to think that I've been doing this for so many years and then stopped it. Amazing. You talk about it, you can't put a value on it. It's like you can't put a value on peace of mind, right? That's how it feels for me. It's like I feel so much more at peace with myself, with my thoughts. My thoughts aren't always great, but wow, am I ever able to recognize them, reframe them, just not be this constant negative, perpetual energy. Do you know what I mean? That you're constantly criticizing yourself. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I came here. I'm super successful, but I'm just my worst critic. And I didn't want to do that anymore. Right. And so those things are invaluable. How can you put a dollar price on not being mean to yourself every day? Wow. It's huge. And you don't recognize these things until someone can really help you with that. I don't think you can get this through a book. I've read lots of books. I've never made this much progress.
I love that speed. I always say that I propel progress, like,
Hmm.
bring it to me and I'll help you figure this shit out. And we're going to do something about it, which many of us stop at awareness. Oh, okay, I have this problem. Without going into details, Mel, do you want to say, like, describe one of the things that you said, like long-standing issues, like
Yeah.
between, like?
with my mother. I had some real relationship was not particularly good and huge limiting beliefs. And, been able to turn that around. And it's not that anything has changed in the relationship. Nothing. It's been all me, my perceptions, what I was putting out there, what I was getting back based on what I was putting out there. And the fact that this has changed, this is my mother we're talking about. I'm in my 40s. This has been a long standing issue,
A 40 plus
right?
standing issue.
Right. And the fact that we are in such a good place, I have a completely different perspective on her. Everything is because you know what? I'm not a part of it anymore. I'm not putting up all these walls. I don't have these limiting beliefs anymore. And so our relationship has been able to exist in a really positive, peaceful place because I'm not feeding negativity into it.
I love that.
Huge.
And that, to me, the CEO means taking responsibility. It is so comfortable to sit down and be like, well, my mom fucked up my entire life. So here I am. I am the result of that in this case. But I do think it is so powerful when you're able to step aside and look into, like, what can I do about it?
Mhm.
Like Jen says, I never give you guys the answers, but I will ask you that question a million times if I need to. What are you going to do about it? And then what? And it just brings you to your own conclusions and to your own actions. You sort of stop perpetually waiting for people to get it right, for you to feel validated or feel that now is your time, and you just take charge of that. I'm all about taking charge, as I know the majority of you ladies in the group are. That's why we're the CEOs of our own life. Love that. Jen, is there anything you want to also share or add? Like, I asked Mel because I could see her taking notes.
And it's funny enough, I had very similar notes. I've got the word that I'm more at peace. It's much more peaceful. So Melissa and I are very much aligned there. I find it's stopping that hamster wheel in your head. Like, and that's internal drama, right? But it's just not there anymore. Because if it starts spinning at all, there's an issue and you know how to deal with it. Or if you're stuck, you just reach out to the group and you get unstuck like so quickly that it just makes you feel so much better.
And
I
getting
think
through that process quickly, sorry, Olga, I just got to add this in. Getting through that, I can do this a million times again. Bring it on. What's the next issue? I'm going to deal with this, right? I've got all these support systems. I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm not going to be on the hamster wheel. I'm going to reach out. I'm going to talk. And it's hugely builds that confidence and that strength of resiliency.
if anybody would have told Olga in her early 20s, fuck, early 30s, that she could end the hamster wheel, I would have like, sign me up. What can I do? How do I do it? And I think that's been my greatest motivation for people to not have to be as long as I was on hamster wheel mode, which is exhausting. And I am forever grateful to all of the very difficult life experiences that have taught me the tools that I now teach, because I wouldn't have been able to be such a good teacher of these tools. And yes, I'm giving myself credit for being a good teacher because I freaking worked hard at mastering that craft. And that is part of being the CEO of our own life, recognizing what we're good at and sharing it guilt free. But honestly, the getting out of the hamster wheel and the being able to break habits of pattern that you have seen the pattern play over and over and suddenly feel free, sign me up. That's me. But of course, I'm biased. I created this program, but those were the things that I personally struggle with that I wanted to get out of myself. And I think that we found the recipe to doing that. Oh, Jen, you said something that I wanted to ask a follow up question on, but of course, it left me. Is there anything else you guys want to share with the audience while I think of my own follow up question?
On the point that you made about going from thought to action, for me, that is definitely, I think, now coming to being the biggest thing. Although I never really watched Martha Stewart cooking shows, I could read the self-help books. I can watch the home renovation shows. I think we all love those shows. And we all think that, like, yeah, I got this. And sometimes we even buy the tools or buy the wallpaper and we don't do it. So signing up for CEO has been the one thing that actually made me do things. After buying a zillion books and thinking I've got everything down and I'm driven and I can do this, I'm still not sure what was holding me back from doing some of the things I knew I should do. But this made a huge difference on top of the extra learning I've gotten.
And Jen, like, will you say, both of you actually, what would you guys say about the length of the program being 1 year? Like, did you guys have any drama about this? Like, shit, am I doing this for 12 months? What are your thoughts about the timelines that we sort of also place sometimes for to see progress or to like commit to something?
I thought for me, the length was dollars. So I thought, okay, that amount becomes more dollars. But then realized that you can't really see change quickly. So I should commit for that long to give it time to see progress. And I'll figure out after a year if I'm continuing or not. Doesn't take more than a month before you know, oh my gosh, this is worth it so much. Then why did I even hesitate to commit to a year? So I'm totally convinced that it's worth signing up for a year, but that was my mental drama going into it.
And you see, money and time go hand in hand, always. Mel, go ahead.
Now, I was just going to say, for me, the time commitment, it was also about money, but it was about the group of ladies and, were we going to gel? And was this going to work for me? Was this something that I was really going to like? And what if I found out after 2 months that I didn't like it? That was sort of the hesitation that I had. And really, it's ridiculous now that I look back on it because like I look so forward to these calls. This is my time. This is about me and I love it. And the thing about if there's any hesitation about being in a group, there's always in every group setting there's always going to be people that you tend to gravitate towards and maybe gravitate less to, but that's okay, that's normal, that's how the world goes round. And so you get to benefit from all of that spectrum regardless of whether or not you particularly gel, you still get to benefit from it. And so it's not to say that we're not gelling because we are, it's fantastic. But I don't think there should be any hesitation about that because, in the grand scheme of things, it really isn't about making a friend per se. It's about having someone to grow with. And those are very different things. And I think that I'm able to be more vulnerable with these women because I don't know them. And because they don't know all my baggage and all my background, and I can bring that at my speed.
Mhm.
And I like that. I like the fact that everyone has a fresh start. We're all new, we're all blank slates, right? Isn't that cool? You rarely get that opportunity.
And as you were saying that, I was thinking like one of the reasons I love showing up to my calls with my coach, which is also group, is that I don't have, other than the groups that I coach in, many other life opportunities where I sit down with people who are so interested in learning. It is so unique that we have like this made up group of people who have like one goal in mind. Like, so how do we get unstuck? How do we become confident? And I like to highlight that what I sell, the product I sell, is more confident. And I'm interviewing right now, as you guys can hear, two women who are quite confident. And I would just like to ask you guys, will you say that you're more confident today than you were 6 months back?
100%.
Absolutely.
And will you have said 6 months ago that that's one thing that you needed to work on?
No.
No,
I remember Jen
absolutely
be like,
not.
I'm pretty confident. So I don't know what I'm like, oh, I think of myself as the most confident human every time. Like, is this an insecurity here? Is this why I'm not doing that? Is that what I'm not writing this book yet? Like, there is always so many layers. It all comes down to confidence, ladies. And confidence comes down to mindset, getting rid of our mental drama, right? So I think that I don't think that's what I intend. I did want to say, why 1 year? I started coaching without any timelines. And then I realized that was problematic for my clients, because then they're like, their expectations of change were like so up in the air. Like, would I get any results in 1 month? When I knew deep inside, you cannot create any change. You can create new ways of thinking in 2 sessions, right? And so I started to like really understand the brain processing, and it's different for everybody. But to truly create a new pattern of thought, a year, it's like accurate, an accurate amount of time. And even then, in that year, you're going to have so many setbacks where you're going to need that person to be like, that is normal. Yes, you're creating a new pathway. Think about it. A lot of what we're doing now, a lot of the thoughts that you have today, you've had for years and years and years. So your mind's going to want to go into default. So the process in my head for 1 year is to allow my clients to have freak out moments, that they've learned the tools and then they're like, nothing is working. What do I do? So that we can work through that while they're still well supported. And then after the year, as you guys know in the group, we have people who are in like year 3. They just don't want to leave ever. They feel like probably how I feel with my coach. I'm like, why would I stop this? It's working. If it's working, it's not broken, and it's not like this codependency. I think one of my clients was saying, like, do I need this? I freaking hate that question. You don't need, you need water and medicine if you're dying, and like all these other things that you might need. This isn't a need, this is a desire. You want this. And at some point, it becomes that. I just want to be coached. At least that's how it is for me today. It is a privilege that I get to give to myself. I'm like, no, I absolutely want to be coached. It's not that I need, I'll survive without my coach. Fuck yeah, she's taught me so many things. I don't need, I want. Any comments on that? And then I know we're like about time. So I just wanted to like give that understanding of why it's a year. I want people to feel supported in the moments that they feel like the first 6 months you feel amazing. The first 3 months you might feel amazing because you're learning and it's so eye-opening. But life is gonna happen. Maybe you're gonna have an issue, like a health issue that you didn't think about, or conflict with somebody that you didn't think about. And then you're like, hold on, do I need to? How do I do this? How do I do this? You're freaking out. Or you just apply the tools and they didn't work, because it's happened to all of us. And so it's just like that reframing and that having that extra support. That's when the year came from.
Well, and to be honest with you, Olga, now that I've had this experience, I totally agree with what you said about, maybe when I'm my parents' age, I'll be done with coaching. I am in. This is something that I want to continue doing, and I don't think that there's an end game for me. I think come into these things with a goal, right? Maybe something went wrong, especially, that was my situation where I felt like I had a real failure and just having a super hard time processing it. And now that I've realized I had a hard time processing it because I'm just incredibly hard on myself. Well, there's so much to that, right? And I want to live a happy life in my brain, outside of my brain. And this is what I want to do in perpetuity. I don't see this as even a year for this, because my next thought is, well, when do I get to sign up for the next session?
The drama has disappeared, but you have stuck to the value.
Exactly.
And we, in general, I think women especially, do not look at things from that perspective of value. We strictly looked at, what am I going to sacrifice? Was it going to cost me? Like, we don't commit 100% to what's for us. I love my mom's. I use my mom's words all the time, but these ones are my favorite. If it's for you, it's not expensive. So going shopping with my mom is a terrible idea, okay? Because she will just convince you. Like, it's for you. Who gives? Just buy it. Jen, you will have a really hard time shopping with my mom.
Oh my gosh, I would. But I'd love to go shopping if she's buying things for herself and I could just watch. I think it's a journey. And like, you've got the right name for this podcast, and it could be the same name for the group, because there is no destination really. It's just a journey. So a year, absolutely, for this journey. And it can go on for longer. When I started, I thought, I'm committing to a year and I'll see how it goes. And then I think everybody just, I hate to say, gets sucked in. But I feel that even if anybody wanted to stop after a year, no one would judge them. Like,
No.
it's just that kind of group. And there's new people and people that were there the year before, I was a bit nervous of how that would gel. You couldn't even tell who had been there before. Not that they hadn't progressed, but they didn't make anybody feel any different. And the topics obviously were different. Some of concepts were probably the same, but we're always learning. So they were good reminders and they were getting as much out of it, I'm sure. The year is
Yeah.
perfect.
And in fact, I feel that groups like Reset is always the same thing, and people take it 1, 2, 3 times. It's like reading the same book. You're like, yeah, I already read it. No, but you haven't read it in this time of your life. So the tools never get old. And I always feel, even the people who've been there for a long time, that I'm teaching this for the first time. They're like, wait, what? Oh, I can do that with this tool? Because we are different, right? Every 6 months, every 3 months, we think differently. And so we hear things differently as well. Love that. Ladies, how do we end this?
Well, I think I would encourage anyone that has any interest. I had the slightest bit of interest and just looked into it more and started listening to what other people had to say. And there's just so much support for this. Everyone is so engaged. And so if you have the slightest bit of interest, I suggest you dive in.
We're friendly. We'll be at the other end.
That's
People
right.
will welcome you. We're friendly. Jen, any last words
Yeah,
of advice or wisdom or anything that you want to share?
I completely agree. I think it's diving in. And if this course is like too much of a jump in, to start with one of your other courses. And once they get to know you through the other ones, it's obviously a first step beyond a podcast is to get into a course. I think all of us right now had done some other type of coaching or course with you on some level before as well. So we knew what we were getting into 100%. There was no big sales pitch that needed to be done because we knew we'd get a lot of value. We were quite confident going into it. Even if we didn't know what we'd get, we were positive about the results.
You
Agreed.
knew me at the very least, or you had done some work with me for sure. I think that's important to recognize. And so the opportunities for you guys coming up will be Detox the Mind, which is a 5-day every day. You have it for 5 days every day. It's a boot camp to confidence. And the step up will be the 12-week reset your mindset. And the next opportunity to be in the CEO, which is a 12-month group program, will be September. We get started on September 9th, the next cycle. So you wouldn't be with Mel and Jen because they signed up for the January one. So we're finishing with them in December. But you will be signing up to a whole new group of people. And I will add, this is new to you guys, but this is the last time I am going to be running the CEO of Your Own Life as an open to the public. It's going to become strictly only offered to people who have done reset the mindset moving forward, because I want people to get the most out of this program, and like having those basics are going to be so fundamental to your progress. So if you sort of want to like just dive into the CEO, you want to do the work, September of 2022 is your last chance of doing that if you haven't done any other work. Otherwise, it's going to come out of my website. Only people who are in the ecosystem will be able to join it. Ladies, thank you so much, really, from the bottom of my heart. One, for showing up, for trusting me to do the work that you're doing, for the progress you've made, for being courageous to share it here with the audience, for being teammates to the group. You are part of what the group feels judgment free and a safe place. It's just the energy that each of us bring to the table. And I just want to say that I am incredibly proud of what both of you have accomplished so far and in life in general. Okay. Like, I think the work that you guys do is so important. The amount of heart that you put to the work that you do, it's so inspiring. And more women need to be in your presence. That's how I feel. So thank you for the jobs that you guys do, for being a part of the group, and for just being so open in this podcast with everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, Olga here, and I'm here to invite you to join me in 5 days of taking you from self-critical to self-confident by changing the way you speak to yourself. Your inner dialogue has everything to do with your confidence, whether you have it or you don't. And it all comes back to how we perceive ourselves and to the blockages that we might have internally to finally accept and value who we are as we are now. I have a very useful strategy that has been known to help many make that shift from critical to confident. And I want to share that invitation with you. So the waiting list is now open. You can go ahead and add your name. And by being in the waiting list, you get to be the first one notified when I open for registration. Also, you get some extra perks. So head over to the show notes, sign up for the waiting list, detox the mind. Talk to you guys soon.